Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Optmyzr. We got a good one for you today. We're going to talk about one of the most used features in Optmyzr and some updates we've made to that. And so those would be budgets. And to help us with that, we've got Jeff from our team and Gitanjali, as always, to help with questions and a lot of the details. So, Jeff, welcome back. You've done a couple of these before. So tell us what we're going to be looking at with budgets here. So I think we're going to look at some new capabilities in multi-accounts and a much requested feature, which is automatic pausing, which you'll show us. And then we also have some exciting updates with existing budget tools that now will also work for Microsoft Ads. So Jeff, I think I'm going to let you share your screen and walk us through what these new things are.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me back, Fred. And budgets are probably the number one thing that I talk to clients about. They're extremely important, as everybody knows. And so Optmyzr has had budget tools going back to the beginning of Optmyzr with our enhanced scripts. And still one of our most flexible, one of our most popular tools is the flexible budget tool. So the flexible budget enhanced script, and that is the ability to pause and enable budgets from the keyword up to the account level. One of the restrictions on that is it only works for Google. So what we rolled out last year is the MultiAccount Budget tool, which gives some really exciting capabilities to create budgets over multiple platforms. So we throw in the capability to create budget groups, which we'll touch on here in just a second, what a client and budget group is. But we're going to have the ability to create budgets and budget groups over multiple different platforms. So we rolled that out last year. And one of the new capabilities that we'll be talking about today is the ability to now create those clients and budget groups and then pause those budget groups over Microsoft, Google, and Facebook.
Nice. Yeah, and that's definitely a big win, right? Because there's a lot of things you can do in the Google Ads interface and the Microsoft Ads interface to keep announcing new things. But one thing that we're seeing more and more is those walled gardens, and it's just becoming harder if you want to manage across platforms. And we definitely know, and I've heard this in many client calls as well, but not spending more than what the client told you to spend, that's a pretty big deal, and that can be quite challenging. So that's one component, is obviously not spending too much, but then also spending that money in the most efficient manner, right? So the more that you have access to a multi-account budget tool, so you can see, hey, maybe the brand is performing really well on Microsoft and maybe non-brand is performing really well on Google. And so how do you reallocate your budget, shift them around, and at the same time make sure that you stay within the limits that your boss or your client set? So I'm going to show your screen here, Jeff.
Sure.
And I'm going to take a look at that. Oh, that was the wrong one. There we go.
Got it. So the multi-account budget tool, like I said, has been around since last year, and that can be found under optimizations for budgets right here under optimize budgets across platforms. And it works on a client and budget group theory, I should say. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a client, and the client can be different accounts. It works at the account level over multiple platforms. So you can see I've created this new client, which you can easily create a client right here, but I've created this test client to show you the capabilities of picking accounts over different platforms.
And by the way, just quickly pausing here, right? But how does the user get to this client manager page?
Let's see.
So I think once you go into the multi-account budget tool, that would be your starting point. And that's where we'll have the links so that you can go and build your clients, or the notion of a client.
So
Right.
I just want to quickly add that we're bringing the notion of clients to Optmyzr, where you will be able to combine different accounts as a client. So if the same client has 2 Google ads, 1 Microsoft ads, 1 Facebook account, you can combine that into a client. Right now, the reason you're able to go through it from the multi-account budget tool is because that's the tool that's using clients. But over the next few months, you'll see that appearing in more places.
Right. So Fred, this is kind of what you were referring to, and we'll have a list of the different clients. And here's the client that I have created for today's session. And so when we have the client available, we'll now be able to choose the different accounts. And so once we've created those accounts, once we've created the client, we will come now to, and I've picked basically I've picked one account from Google, our one campaign from Google, and 3 campaigns from Microsoft. So now we've gone from the client and picking at the account level to the budgets and creating budget groups by picking the individual campaigns inside the accounts that we've just picked for the client. And so here is a way to create those budget groups. And you can see that I've picked these particular accounts. And when we hit the drop-down menu, you'll see the individual campaigns inside these accounts. So here's the campaigns, and you can't search for campaigns. So for example, if you want to create a brand budget across Google, Microsoft, and Facebook, you can search for those campaign names, name brand, and then create those budget groups from those campaigns that you pick.
Right.
So I've picked one Google campaign and 3 Microsoft campaigns, and now we're on to the exciting part. So the new functionality is the ability to now create this budget group and pause the campaigns when the cost exceeds the target budget. And so I've created a target budget of $1,500. And so we're going to now be able to pause those campaigns when these 4 campaigns that I've picked over Google and Microsoft exceed $1,500, and then also send an email when that budget is hit.
I don't know if you said this, but so this used to be, or it's one of our very popular scripts, is to limit how much you spend. The downside, I mean, scripts are fantastic, right? I love scripts, obviously, but the downside is that they do get a little bit complicated to manage, and there's like spreadsheets involved, and there's settings, and then so what we decided to do was bring this into the native Optmyzr interface to give you another option, a little bit of an easier way to set it up. And so we're slowly bringing this on par with the budget scripts capabilities that we have. And then obviously the big thing here is that it's multi-account, right? So, and that's something that the script is not going to be able to do, because scripts just, well, I don't know. And tell me if there are scripts for Facebook. I'd love to work with them, but I've never heard anyone talk about them.
The other thing with the new tool is that you can actually get alerted at different points of your budget getting hit. So when you hit 50% of your budget, 75, 90% of your target. So that's something that the script does not do. So it can help you become aware and give you enough time to make a decision before your budget is hit.
Yeah. And so, Jeff, this is a private beta, you said, right? So if people want to get access, there's the support alias or the support email. So just shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to put you in with that automatic pausing. Do be aware that we might still want to run a script in the back end, because, I mean, this is it's a beta for a reason, right? So we're still testing it out, making sure that we're checking frequently enough. But if you're willing to give it a go, that's how you can get access to it.
Exactly. And so now we have created our client, and we've created our budget group, and we have told the system to pause the campaigns when they hit $1,500 in this example. So now we come to the page that we can actually change budgets as well. And this is a capability that we've had when we rolled the tool out last year. But I just want to reiterate that this gives you the ability to now change budgets over platforms, including Google, Microsoft, and Facebook, with the new capability of pausing.
Right. And so if you look at our Optmyzr budgets tool, which we'll look at in a second, actually, that has automatic suggestions for how do you maximize your conversion value, maximize conversions. Across platforms, we don't have that capability added quite yet. But the way that I would use this, I would turn on the column like return on ad spend, conversion value, cost per acquisition. And then I would do a comparison, like I price sort it, look at which are my cheapest platforms for a cost per acquisition basis. And if I found that there seemed to be the ability to spend more on those, then I would allocate more budget to that. And then, of course, take away budget from the platforms where those same types of leads or sales were much more expensive.
Another use case that I can think of is if you're going to run seasonal campaigns. So, for example, if you're running back to school campaigns across Google Ads, Microsoft, and Facebook, and you have a specific amount of budget for for that campaign, you can create a budget group just for your back to school campaigns and monitor it through this and make sure that those campaigns don't actually exceed that allocated budget.
Nice. And so with the not exceeding the budget, that's on a monthly basis, right?
Yes.
Right. But so you're saying that even with like a seasonal campaign, maybe it's not exactly from the first of the month to the end of the month, but if you just said, hey, between now and say August 15th, which may be the end of back to school season, we want to spend $10,000, and it doesn't really matter how quickly that's spent. And you'd still use your budget distribution options within Google to have your daily budget allocation.
Yeah.
But once that budget is gone, and it's gone, it doesn't matter if it's the last day of the month.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to circle back on the new capability of being able to pause these budgets, a couple details on that. For Google and Microsoft, we will add labels to those campaigns that we pause. Now, Facebook doesn't support labels, but you can get that the campaign and the campaign ID in the optimization history inside of Optmyzr. So you will have to, for now, manually turn those back on, but we are working on an enable function as well that is due to come out later on this quarter or the beginning of Q3.
Yep. Nice. And then at that point, you can just set your budget and let us handle it completely automatically. Great.
Awesome.
All right, Jeff. So we look at spend projection.
Right. So we've had spend projection. Spend projection can be found under Insights and right here under spend projection. And we've had spend projection for Google for a while now. And what we do with spend projection is we're historically looking back in your account in the data, and we're using that historical data to then project the spend based on the time range or the date range that you tell us. In this particular case, it's a month, but you can set that for different date ranges. And these are great to have budget conversations with your client. So that this spend projection for Google has been something inside of Optmyzr that we have, but today's announcement is we're going to have a spend projection for Microsoft as well. So you can just click on your Microsoft account right here, and you'll get the same type of data that we currently show for your Google account.
Nice. And so you said it uses historical data, and I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Gitanjali, but I think a couple of years worth, something like 3 years worth of historical data that we look at.
It's if you have data, then we go back to up 7 to 8 years historically.
Right. So we look at that really long look back window to see seasonality, to sort of understand if maybe you're a summer seasonal business, and we'll see those spikes, and then we'll know, oh, it's summer again. So even though you may not have spent much in winter, that'll bump up. And then we also look at the more recent history to kind of get a baseline of, has the CPC cost in your category changed? Has the impression volume changed? Right. So that's the baseline. And then we layer on top the seasonality from that couple of years of history. So it's a pretty cool tool. And obviously Google will make some projections as well, and Microsoft does it. But this is a good third-party tool to sort of validate, how they're looking at the data versus how we're looking at it, to give you a more balanced view into what might actually happen.
Exactly. And we'll show different views, the cumulative view, and you can see here if you hover over any of the particular days that you're interested in, we'll show you the projected min and max spend, and then the actual projected spend for that particular day.
Yeah, and Regina's asking us, how about Facebook? Sorry, Regina, I'm going to have to take that down as a feature request.
Yes, we'll add that. It's not currently available for Facebook. Yeah,
but that might be a good one to actually do next, because we do support Facebook in budget, so it makes a lot of sense, Regina.
Thanks for that input. And so you want to move on to the last tool then?
Sure, let's do it. Optimizing those budgets. So now that we know how much we're going to spend, let's spend it more wisely.
Exactly. So the Optmyzr budget tool, and it kind of works the same as the spend projection. It's been available for Google for a while, and that can be found under optimizations for budgets, and then optimize budgets. And so for the budget tool, we're going to be looking at individual, and this can be if you hit the drop-down menu here, you can switch to your Microsoft account very easily. But what we're going to do here is we're going to look at campaign budgets and shared budgets, and we're going to give recommendations to help improve performance or switch around budgets based on the performance of those particular campaigns. And we'll look at things like recent impression share loss due to budget. So we know that there's an upside potential in these particular campaigns because we're losing budget currently. So if the campaign is performing well, then we can easily change budgets right here under Edit Daily Budget. And go ahead, Gitanjali.
No, so I was just going to add that if you're not sure how much budget you should set it to, you can use the budget simulator here, which is also there for free.
Right, exactly. This is a real handy tool that'll show you how to change the budgets based on projected spends.
Right, and this budget simulator is independent from Google's and Microsoft's. So we're doing our own calculations on basically impression share losses and your current historical spends, and then forecasting how much we think you can spend. This tool also has an interesting capability where it actually does look into the future. And even if you're currently hitting roughly 100% impression share, but if it thinks that a seasonality event is about to happen where your budget is no longer going to be enough, it will flag that. It looks a little weird sometimes because you'll see 100% impression share, yet we recommend raising the budget. It does tell you why it's doing that, but it's a really cool capability so that you really do spend the full amount. And again, it's not about spending more money, but if these campaigns are converting within your cost per acquisition targets, within your ROAS targets, right, then let's not leave money on the table, and let's push these campaigns to the limits.
Exactly, and you can bring in different metrics as well. So in our column picker right here, you can bring in things like conversions and cost per conversion, all the data that you need to make it a good, intelligent decision to either raise or lower particular budgets.
The get optimization suggestions, that's also a cool feature. It's also available for Bing, Microsoft Ads. So this can actually help you. So this is where we predict if you were to increase your budget, your spend by this much, then this is the projected number of clicks, conversions, at what cost per conversion you can get. So this is another cool feature based on what your goal may be for your client.
Yeah, so we spent over a year building this table that you see. There's a bunch of machine learning that goes into it. So basically helps you meet your goals. And it's kind of cool too, because this is the type of table that you can present to your client and say, well, tell me what you want, right? We can certainly spend more money, but then at some point the incremental cost per click is going to go up. So you're going to get diminishing returns, but you would get more sales, right? And then they can help you understand, okay, well, this seems to be the cutoff where I'm sort of happy between the balance of how much it's costing budget-wise, but also what my cost per acquisition, return on ad spend is going to be. Obviously, this works much better when there's bigger accounts, more data. But it is a pretty nifty feature that if you haven't checked it out, do take a look at it. And then the other thing is, if you find the level that you like or that your client or your boss says that's what we would need to go with, just click on that row and it's going to set up all your changed budgets. And then you can still look through that table below it, and then you'll see exactly what budgets we've changed. And you can still manually tweak it to the level that you want.
Exactly, Fred. So that's a great point, to use the spend projection and Optmyzr budget tool to have those budget conversations with your client or with the in-house team. And if you do see a favorable projected spend that you want to change it to, for this example right here, we're looking at changing the projected spend by about $3,000, but we're going to get a much favorable lift in clicks. So I've clicked on that row, and like Fred was just explaining, now we're going to allocate those budgets to the different campaigns and shared budgets to make it really easy for you to help drive the performance to the goal that you've picked. And don't forget that the action item is to apply those changes to your account as well, which is our one-click optimization for the Optmyzr budget tool.
Well, very good. So good roundup of the changes. Again, there's not a huge amount of change here, but we do know budgets are one of the most used features. So we hope these are going to be huge time savers for you. And then, like we said, the most exciting thing here is that multi-account budgets, we can now start to automatically pause when you exceed. That is in private beta. So go ahead and contact support@optmyzr.com if you want to participate. And then later this quarter, we're going to be able to also re-enable those campaigns that we paused. So that basically becomes a bit of a set it and forget it type capability within Optmyzr. Jeff, thank you for showing this to us. Gitanjali, thank you for keeping us honest and having the answers. Everyone, thank you for watching. We'll be back next Wednesday with a PPC Town Hall. We're going to do it on the topic of conversion rate optimization and landing page optimization. So that should be a fun one. And then we'll announce the next Learn with Optmyzr for the week after that. Also, remember, we do have our user conference. It's called Optmyzr User. Current subscriber, there's that code that you can sign up with. We will validate it. This video is on YouTube, so if you're not an actual user and you use that code, we will know. But if you do use that code and you are a current customer, then you will get access to a special track with feature announcements, as well as potentially roundtables with the product managers. So, and that's happening in about 2 weeks from now. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you for the next one.
Thank you.